Hello and welcome once again to my podcast, Dr. Said Says, or You've Got to Be Kidding Me. Because I'm going to be covering news articles that make me want to say, you've got to be kidding me. And there's so many shocking stories in the news these days, but one is pretty shocking. An autistic young man, teenager maybe, was brandishing a knife in his backyard. He wasn't directly threatening anyone, but concerned neighbors called the police and they showed up and they proceeded to form a firing squad and execute the young man. Let me show you a picture of that. Okay, here it is. There's the still of the firing squad pointing their guns at a young man with a knife. That's all. He doesn't have a gun. He's not charging them. He's walking forward, but he's not running. And there's a fence between them. And they can't think sober enough. They can't stay calm enough to think through the appropriate thing to do next. That is shocking, ladies and gentlemen. Unbelievable that they would think it's appropriate to pull out your gun, point it at a young man, what was that, 10 to 15 feet away. Not one, not two, not three, 4 officers, and pull the trigger and pump bullets into his body. What were you thinking? Where is your training? Well, we were trained that when someone behind a fence has a knife, you need to plug him with several bullets. What? No. I almost want to bring your IQ into the picture. Very low IQ. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll back off. But we have to talk about EQ, emotional intelligence, which is caring about this other human being. Caring enough to slow down, stay calm, and speak what you need. Sir, put down the knife. We need you to put down the knife. It seems like you're upset about something. Maybe pretty angry, right? Is that right? Tell us your name. What is your name? Oh, I think I've heard about you. You're a pretty cool guy. Yes, and I can see that you're really a nice guy, right? His name is Victor Perez. Victor Perez. So, Victor, if you don't put down the knife, I'm going to have Officer Smith over here shoot you into the hand, so you'll have to drop the knife. We don't want to do that, Victor. We don't want to shoot you in the hand. But if you don't put down the knife, she's going to shoot you in the hand. And even that's kind of fast and extreme, really. I mean, you could have stood there for 30 minutes or an hour just talking to him. And if he doesn't do it, okay, Officer Smith is going to shoot you in the hand so you'll drop the knife. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Officer Smith, go ahead. Boom. The knife is shot out of the young man's hand. Well, now he's writhing in pain. He's going, ah. You can jump over the fence. You probably should have had a plan of how do you get around to the other side. One of them should have been at the gate where they could have run right in to gone over and not take him to the ground, but to put a tourniquet around his hand after he's been shot. Show some kindness. Show some caring. Really, if any police department in Dallas or any surrounding cities, in fact, any city in Texas, except for El Paso, I will come and do training on how to have handled a situation like that. lining up a firing squad and pumping 8 or 9 bullets into his body is unthinkable. It shows a lack of any kind of consideration for the life and well-being of one of your citizens. Okay? Shocking. I think the heroes of the day, in a way, are the father and son who called the police in the first place. Not because they necessarily should have done that, but after the horror show went down, they stood with their arms folded, apologizing sincerely. That's what we need to see good people do, is to apologize when somebody does something that's very hurtful. Let me show you the video. This is so difficult. I'm going to have picture-in-picture in here someday. And for some reason, it automatically goes on
him hospitalized.
silent.
I just want answers. Why with my nephew they used shoot to kill, because that's what they did.
After the graphic video went viral, protests erupting in Pocatello. The father and son that made that 911 call apologizing to.
Let me try this again.
As Perez steps towards them, police open fire from the other side of the fence, leaving him hospitalized.
I just want answers. Why with my nephew they used shoot to kill, because that's what they did.
After the graphic video went viral, protests erupting in Pocatello.
Zooming in?
The
What are they
father
doing?
and son that made that 911 call apologizing to.
I'm going to make a darn video on this. It's so unwieldy. I just had to change it from 30 seconds before it goes dead to 30 minutes. Why would they set that from the factory on 30 seconds? You know, the way people think in this world is just shocking. And then make it so fragile and then make the sound go down automatically somehow for some reason. Anyway, back to the subject at hand. Why aren't the police getting training so that they would handle that in a calm and caring way? That was brutal. They should be, really, I'm sorry, sent to jail for a year. I'm not going to be brutal in return, but they should lose their jobs and sent to jail for 1 year. And when they get out, if they want to go through the training again and go back to being police officers, that's fine. If that's their dream, I support people in finding their dream. But I bet they will have learned their lesson not to go crazy on a basically innocent person. It reminds me of the case of George Floyd. I mean, George was not a man of character, but I won't go into that. He was hanging out, maybe causing some problems. But why in the world would that police officer get him down, put his knee on his neck, knowing that it had a good chance of killing him, and just sit there for the longest time, even while he said, "I can't breathe"? The brutality of that. But I'm going to show you a poster, because what that is, it's the parent ego state. Let me show you. Okay, these are the 3 ego states of transactional analysis. Let me see if I can show you this. That's right. I'm okay, you're okay by Dr. Thomas Harris is where I learned this many years ago. Parent, adult, child. The child is just all my feelings, and everybody in this scenario had their feelings going. The parent part of us is the part of us that takes over when I have my feelings going and I'm angry, and I'm either angrily waving a knife or I'm angrily pointing a gun and firing at this young man. So that's the introduction, but I'm going to take it further, because really we have to go into the worst level of the parent ego state, called the egopathic parent. Let me show you. I didn't mean for this poster to turn out to be so big, but it's been kind of handy. There's the bottom 3, and that's the child ego states. The middle 3 are the adult ego states, and the top 3 here are the parent ego states that I have hypothesized. Got to move all the way over here. And nurturing parent, that's pretty good, but it still might tick somebody off. Critical parent, that's not good. That is going to make somebody upset. And the egopathic parent is my contribution to the literature on transactional analysis, because it says, I'm really angry or I'm really emotional and I go at you with a knife or a gun and I don't care how that hurts you. Well, that's what these 4 police officers did. They went into their angry, egopathic parent and killed this young man, thinking that that was their job. Well, he was waving a knife around. No, you don't kill him. A small community like that. And then I didn't show you all the people that were gathering and praying and showing support. This wasn't some crazed criminal that they were saying, oh, thank goodness the police got him off the streets. He was in his aunt's backyard. He was fine. The neighbors were okay to call and say, he needs to be handled because he's a little out of control. And they said, I think he might have cut himself by accident. So there's a way to deal with that. And those 4 police officers were not trained. They were clueless how to handle that in a kind, caring, and yet still safe way. So I'm sorry. We love our men and women in blue, but that was a huge mistake. And I'm going to say it to you. Shame on you for doing that. Okay? Any police department in the Dallas area, for sure, if you need training on how to handle a situation like that, call me. You don't have to have years of police force work to know how to handle that. That is basic. That is simple. I've already gone through that. I hope it will be helpful to any police officers that watch it. My heart goes out to all people who are brutalized by police officers. Please stop. Thank you for joining me here on Dr. Says. I am Dr. Cedric Wood. Have a good weekend.